This is Sky News.
When it comes to elections, you can never count your eggs before they've hatched, and there are influential members of politics from around the world and media right here in Indonesia who are saying that it's a lot closer than it looks, and Prabowo Subianto could still claw it back. Of course, we know there was all that uncertainty at the close of polls yesterday when both of the candidates claimed victory within hours, in fact, of that poll closing. Joko Widodo doing it in grand style, standing alongside Megawati Soekarno-Putri, the former Indonesian president. We know that following that, both of the political leaders were summoned to meet with incumbent President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, who really urged caution and told them to issue warnings to their followers that there shouldn't be any violence and that the Electoral Commission should be left to do its work. But that hasn't stopped there being calls and praise from around the world. This process isn't over, and we're not expecting an outcome from the Electoral Commission for at least another 2 weeks, which means there's going to be an enormous amount of uncertainty here in Jakarta and across Indonesia, but also in terms of the financial markets and the way that this country interacts right around the world. We also know that there have been those calls for calm amongst all of the supporters of both major political parties, and we also know that police and the military have been on high alert and continue to be so as these days continue on. Now, although the counting is continuing, we know that the Electoral Commission has immediately begun reviewing itself. I was at their offices earlier today where they're speaking with people who were observing the process to see what worked, what didn't, and how things can be improved. But the race is certainly still ongoing to get to the presidential palace behind me, and you'd have to say the stakes have most definitely been heightened. Things are about to get a lot more dramatic here. That's what everyone's saying. About half an hour ago, we saw Prabowo Subianto, one of the presidential candidates, go on television, on the television network that he owns, saying that he was withdrawing from the process that the Electoral Commission had undertaken and that he was ordering his representatives, who were in the building behind me, the Indonesian Electoral Commission, to walk out because they were so concerned about the issues that they were seeing. He says that there have been some 52,000 instances of voter irregularities that he has asked the Electoral Commission to investigate, and he says they simply need to. He's also said in that television interview that he did that there's been an unfair process aimed at him and his team. We saw an enormous media throng gather outside just at the gates behind me a short while after that as his representatives stormed out of the Electoral Commission and said that they were having no further part in this and that Subianto would be making further statements in a short while here in Jakarta later this afternoon. That was followed minutes later with about 50 to 100 police officers and soldiers sprinting past me and running to my left about 200 metres down the road here, where they begin putting on their padding as well as arm sort of shields as well as face masks. There's no gas masks yet, however, those are on the ground nearby, and with batons and different sorts of sticks. They're going to be heading then towards the main intersection, the big roundabout, which is less than a kilometre from where I'm standing, where there are already about 50 to 100 protesters, pro-Subianto protesters, I understand, from a Labour union, who are gathered there and talking about the issues that they see in this election campaign. And to my right, there are a number of major police vehicles. Things seem to be happening over there, and there seems to be a major movement towards that roundabout.
Dan, what does this mean, though, for the election result itself? Jokowi was about to be announced as the president-elect. Is this off to the courts?
You'd have to think that's exactly where this is going, and we've also seen Subianto mentioning in those comments that he will be taking this to the Constitution Court, the highest court in the land, where there are 9 judges, and they really sit on questions of whether constitutional validity has taken place, similar to Australia's High Court. So that's the next option. Of course, that would mean that this process gets bogged down in the legal rhetoric that many have been predicting for some time. But of course, we know that Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, the incumbent president of Indonesia, will need to leave office in October. That's when his 5-year tenure runs out. So it's anyone's guess of what will happen between now and then. We know that there's still expected to be an announcement in the next hour from the Electoral Commission behind me. And as you point out, they are expected to say that Joko Widodo, the former Jakarta governor and also self-made self-made businessman, has won the election and will be Indonesia's president-elect. We know that the numbers from the last indication that I've seen were sitting at around 51% for Widodo. So, I mean, it's anyone's guess, though, what will happen from here on out, particularly given the tense nature of the environment of which I'm coming to you from. There's a sense of calm here in Jakarta on the first full day since Joko Widodo was announced as the new president-elect. The Electoral Commission says he won more than 53% of the vote in the July 9 poll, which equates to around 71 million individual ballots. He gave a speech accepting late last night on a boat in the harbour outside of Jakarta, saying that he was incredibly proud of his campaign and that he wanted this to now be a time of unification between the different political divisions.
This victory is a victory for all the people of Indonesia. With humility, we ask the people to return to a united Indonesia.
Not so for Prabowo Subianto, who withdrew from the recount process just hours before the announcement was made. He's made allegations of around 52,000 instances of voter fraud and says there's widespread cheating. We've also seen calls of congratulations coming in from right around the globe for Joko Widodo. Tony Abbott has released a statement saying he congratulates the president-elect and looks forward to working with his administration. Mr Abbott also paid tribute to the predecessor, the incumbent president, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, who will leave office later this year. Those comments have also been echoed by the opposition leader, who says he looks forward to continuing to develop the relationship with Indonesia. For now, Joko Widodo is celebrating. He'll be sworn in October. Dan Bourchier, Sky News, Jakarta.